Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Luca, and welcome to Look at Me Look, where you get to look at me look at YouTube videos. The title of today's video is Life Beyond 2, The Museum of Alien Life by Melodysheep. Let's get it. And 3, 2, 1, let's go. I'm excited. Really love Melodysheep. Man, listen to this music. It's so eerie. Wow, look at that. A very big question, indeed. Wow. I love that. And the quality of Melodysheep's videos, I think, is second to none. This is insane. Melodysheep did that all by himself. What is... Lord, give me strength. How is Melodysheep making videos like this quality? Oh man, see this.
To have any hope of finding alien life, we have to know what to look for. But where do we begin? How do we narrow down a seemingly infinite set of possibilities?
I can just appreciate the artistry here.
There's one thing we know for sure. Nature will have to play by her own rules. No matter how strange alien life might be, it's going to be limited by the same physical and chemical laws that we are.
I really love
this. Each alien environment will further limit what kinds of life forms can evolve there. Despite these natural boundaries, the possibilities are staggering to imagine.
Incredible to think
trillions of planets, each a unique cauldron of chemicals undergoing their own complex evolution.
Each, their own isolated gene pools.
To guide our thinking, this museum of alien life will be divided into two exhibits. Life as we know it, home to beings with biochemistries like ours, and life as we don't know it, home to beings that challenge our concept of life itself.
Good Lord. This is...
Before we venture too far into the unknown, we have to ask ourselves, what if alien life is more like us than we think? If there's one feature that unites us with the other specimens in this museum, it's carbon.
Carbon is ubiquitous. It's one of the most common elements in the universe, and it's very good at forming large, stable molecules.
Carbon has the rare ability to form four-way bonds with other elements and to bind to itself in long, stable chains, enabling the formation of huge, complex molecules. This versatility makes carbon the centerpiece in the molecular machinery of life.
Let me just pause this video for a
second.
Doesn't like if I'm just trying to close my eyes and see the periodic table of elements, so hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, isn't directly below carbon silicon? In other words, like, is the carbon has 4 electrons in its outer shell, which means that the carbon atom can bond with 4 other basically 4 other sets of 4 other electrons. Silicon can do the same thing. I think germanium can do the same thing. So when people think about, do you really need carbon if silicon can do the same thing? So think about silicon life or germanium life. I saw a video a while ago where Neil deGrasse Tyson addresses this, where essentially if you look at the amount of matter that exists in the universe and you break it down based on where it fits in the periodic table of elements, there is an overwhelming amount of carbon, and there's a comparatively small amount of silicon and germanium. So statistically speaking, you would be far more likely to find life that is carbon-based than silicon or germanium-based. It's still a possibility, but statistically speaking, an overwhelming majority of life that you would find would probably be carbon-based. But as with all other videos that are perspective changings that you lot out there have recommended for me, I may be wrong about some of my assumptions here, and hopefully Melodysheep will help me unlearn some of these things. Let's see what happens.
That we use have been found far from Earth, clinging to meteorites and floating in far-off clouds of cosmic dust. The building blocks of life, drifting like snow through the universe. And if alien life has selected other carbon compounds for their biochemistry, they will have plenty to choose from. Scientists recently identified over 1 million possible alternatives to DNA, all carbon-based. If we ever discover other carbon-based life forms, we would be fundamentally related. They would be our cosmic brethren. But would they look anything like us? If they hail from Earth-like planets, we could share even more in common than just our biochemistry.
What would life be like on other planets if it has evolved? Would it be like the world today here on Earth? Or would it be completely different? There are those who argue that from the argument of convergent evolution, if conditions on other planets are similar to here, then we would see very similar life forms. Animal and plant-like organisms that look very familiar.
On Earth, certain features like eyesight, echolocation, and flight have evolved multiple times independently in different species. This process of convergent evolution could extend to alien planets like Earth, where creatures face similar environmental pressures. It's no guarantee, but there could be certain universalities of life.
Let me just
The
pause this
greatest
video
hits
again.
of evolution on repeat across the universe.
Yeah, just let me pause this video for a second. So one of the things that I think about in terms of intelligent alien civilizations is really how likely would those be, you know, and if you look down here on Earth, how likely is intelligence to emerge through, evolution? It's in fact extremely rare, because if you look at the entire, animal kingdom, evolution has found, dozens and dozens and dozens of ways, maybe even more, of coming up with locomotion, so how animals move about. The same thing applies for eyesight, many different ways, or just perception. With either eyesight, optical, or with like sonar, and these other things. So there's many, many, many ways that evolution has created different possibilities for each of these things. But intelligence like our own has only emerged, to our knowledge, once. And so it could be that it's exceedingly rare for intelligence to emerge through evolution, because for the most part, you don't have the pressures that force organisms to be selected based on their intelligence. You typically don't find that a lot. So just a little thought. When you think about aliens, I think it's far more likely to find aliens that are akin to animals on Earth than it is to have aliens that have empires and spaceships and telescopes and things like that.
Each feature would be attuned to its local environment. Dimly lit planets would produce huge eyes to suck in extra light, like nocturnal mammals.
Some people have gone so far as to say that human-type organisms, humanoids, will occur on other planets.
Alien.
The existence of other human-like organisms seems unlikely, given the long, convoluted chain of events that produced us. But we can't rule it out.
Look at some of these creatures. Look at this.
If just one in every 100 trillion Earth-like planets produced a human-like form, there could still be thousands of creatures like us out there.
This visual effects Melodysheep.
Convergent evolution is also rampant in plant life, and C4 photosynthesis has arisen independently over 40 times. Would alien plants look like ours, or something else entirely?
Well, wouldn't it be amazing that upon arrival on exoplanets,
On Earth, plants appear green
confronted
because
with
they
a
absorb
scenery
the
of
other wavelengths in the sun's light
shrubs
spectrum.
and trees and plant organisms that look like that?
But stars come in many colors,
It's a red dwarf.
and alien plants would evolve different pigments to adapt to their sun's unique spectrum.
Darker plants, that's red dwarfs.
Plants feeding off hotter stars could appear redder by absorbing their energy-rich bluer light. Around dim red dwarf stars, vegetation could appear black, adapted to absorb all visible wavelengths of light.
Look at this. Or would it be extraordinary to be able to feast our eyes on the landscape of an exoplanet? Can you imagine
Earth
the emotional
itself
charge
may
one
have
would get
once appeared purple
if someone would
due
do
to a
that?
pigment called retinol that was an early precursor to chlorophyll. Some think that retinol's molecular simplicity could make it a more universal pigment. If so, we may find that purple is life's favorite color.
Ooh. Wow, look at this. Lord have mercy.
But the color of alien vegetation is more than just a curiosity. It's chemical information that could be seen from light years away. Earth plants leave a signature bump in the light reflected off our planet. Finding a similar signal from another world could point the way to alien vegetation.
Have we found that already?
Perhaps this will be our first glimpse at alien life. A vibrant hue cast by a distant world.
It's incredible.
What happens when you change the day length of a planet? What happens when you change the tilt of a planet? What happens when you change the shape of the orbit? What happens when you change the gravity of a planet?
Planets with long elliptical orbits would see drastic seasons. There could be worlds that appear dead for thousands of years, then suddenly spring to life.
Man, imagine the thought of that. This is incredible. Just like that. Good lord, can you imagine?
Most of the rocky planets discovered so far have been massive super-Earths. How would life evolve on these worlds?
Bigger gravity loads, so
In the seas, gravity may not matter much at all.
A high gravity planet isn't high gravity all over. If you're in the sea, and that's where all life starts, there's very nearly no gravity because you're much the same density as the stuff around you. It's when the animals come out on land that they feel the gravity.
High G-forces would necessitate large bones and muscle mass in complex life on land. They would also demand
like a
a more
shark frog or
robust
something.
circulatory system. And plant life could be stunted by the energy cost of carrying nutrients under stronger gravity. Low-gravity planets would more easily lose their atmospheres to space and lack a magnetic field to protect from cosmic rays.
have any of you ever seen the Aurora Borealis?
But smaller worlds could be home to secret
Feel connected
oases.
with the universe when you do it. I recommend it.
Huge cave systems that provide hideouts for life.
It's amazing to think about. About how many cave systems there could be on planets that we think are irradiated by stellar radiation, like Mars. Maybe we should go looking there if we ever find.
The
So we'll find
smallest
them.
possible habitable
There'll still be
planets
something
are
there.
estimated at 2.5% Earth's mass. If surface life does evolve on these worlds, it could be a sight to behold. Plant life could grow to towering heights, able to carry nutrients higher in lesser gravity.
Yeah, skyscraper-sized building, skyscraper-sized trees.
And without the need for bulky skeletons and muscle mass, animals could have body types that boggle the mind.
What on earth? What on earth is that? Man, the imagination that it takes for someone to conceive of these things. You know?
Here on Earth, it took 3 billion years for evolution to produce complex plant and animal life. Simpler organisms are hardier, more adaptable, and more widespread. The largest collection in the Museum of Alien Life would likely be the Hall of Microbes.
Well, I think microbes are
Yet
abundant.
finding even the tiniest alien microbe would be a profound discovery.
Yeah. It would be a paradigm shift.
And bite-sized life could leave a big footprint. Like stromatolites on Earth, layers of microbes could build up into huge rock mounds over time, leaving behind eerie structures.
Man, imagine
And in
this.
big enough numbers, some alien bacteria could leave a distinct biosignature by exhaling gases that wouldn't coexist naturally, like oxygen and methane.
There's ways to make oxygen without life, there's ways to make methane without life, but to have them in the atmosphere together is almost impossible unless you've got biology making those gases at the surface. And it would have an imprint on the planet's spectrum of colors.
Next generation space
James
telescopes could find a signal like this.
James Webb, I remember when I
Not
was
far from home.
like 12 and
The
looking forward to the
closest
launch
sun-like
date of
star
James Webb.
with an
Still not
Earth-like
launched.
exoplanet in the habitable
Northrop
zone
Grumman, you
is
guys need
probably
to step
only
your game up.
20 light years away and can be seen with the naked eye.
That's amazing. Once we'll have these powerful telescopes, we'll be able to directly image some of these planets.
Most brown dwarfs are too hot to support life as we know it, but some are just cold enough. All the prime elements for life have been detected inside their atmospheres.
Really?
And within these clouds, some layers would provide ideal temperatures and pressures for habitability.
Good lord. Wait a second. I just zoned out for a second.
Photosynthetic plankton
Brown-
in these skies, kept
brown
aloft
dwarf,
by
like
churning
stars?
upwinds.
Grief.
And with enough force, these upwinds could even support larger, more complex life. Predators.
Lord have mercy. Man, I never even thought of the fact that life can emerge on a brown dwarf. They basically exhausted their nuclear fuel at
This
a point.
raises a
Stars
crucial
that
question.
are withered away.
What if we've been looking in all the wrong places?
Lord,
What if
have
nature
mercy.
has other ideas?
Yeah. My goodness. Mind-blowing stuff.
Most of the universe is too cold or too hot for liquid water and the biochemistry that supports life as we know it. But in case our biases are misleading, we have to cast a wide net to search for life outside the habitable zone, in places that seem wildly hostile to us. Exotic environments will demand exotic biochemistries, and while no element can match carbon's versatility, one contender is a frontrunner.
What did I say?
At first glance, silicon seems similar to carbon. It forms the same four-way bonds and is also abundant in the universe. But a closer look reveals that these two elements are false twins. Silicon bonds are weaker and less prone to forming large, complex molecules. Despite this, they can withstand a wider range of temperatures, opening up intriguing possibilities.
Life based on the silicon atom instead of carbon would be more resistant to the extreme cold, providing a whole new range of weird forms.
Can you just imagine?
But
This
silicon
is
has a
insane,
problem.
like, essentially sentient crystal.
In the presence of oxygen, it binds into solid rock. To avoid turning to stone, silicon beings might be confined to oxygen-free environments, like Saturn's frigid moon, Titan. Its vast lakes of liquid methane and ethane could be an ideal medium for silicon-based life or other radical biochemistries.
You know, actually, let me just pause the video right now. As it just flashes to black. You know, one thing I'm always very intrigued by when I see these videos with such a diverse range of possible alien life forms, which is like these silicon crystals and things like that. One thing that I'm always very fascinated by is what kind of states of consciousness these other beings would be experiencing subjectively, like life forms on other planets that are so different from us. What would the process of, you know, subjectively experiencing states of consciousness? What range of states would they be experiencing? What would they even be experiencing? You know, all of these things, you know, make me think. Maybe make me think quite a bit, because already on Earth, if you think about it, by subtly toggling, you know, the brain chemistry through drugs and things like that, human beings can experience extremely profoundly different states of consciousness. Like if you take ayahuasca or LSD or DMT or ketamine or these kinds of things, magic mushrooms, you're basically catapulted into this crazy world where that is totally divorced from the sober reality that you experience every single day, and that is just through something that you take like that. Think about how much different those states of existence, those states of consciousness are, just from that alone, just from that little subtle change. Now, having alien life forms that are completely different, what even is consciousness then? You know, is it possible for them to have like these distributed states of consciousness, almost like a mycelial consciousness? Like if you have an entire network of mushroom mycelial networks spread across like entire planets or spread across smaller areas as well. Is it possible for singular units within these networks to experience a collective state of consciousness? Like there's all these amazing questions that I start thinking about when I start thinking about the fantastic possibility that is out there, just the fantasy land that exists out there in terms of what life can really be. It just makes me, I don't know, this kind of a mystique, spiritual enthusiasm, passion, zeal, psyche that I'm getting here, where I feel like I am deeply longing to find out about other life forms and just discover what exactly could we experience as human beings through discovering them. What could they open our minds up to in terms of states of well-being and consciousness? You know, I just think that these are extremely profound questions, and longer term, as we develop as a society, and we start harnessing increasingly more powerful and impressive forms of technology, I think that one of the dominating priorities that will drive future human civilizations as they spread out throughout the universe could very well be tied to this desire, almost like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, to the purpose of being alive is to gain greater and greater enlightenment over time. Just learning what questions to ask by becoming more enlightened, because oftentimes the hard part is not necessarily getting the answers. The answers themselves aren't hard. It's asking the right question which is hard. And sorry if I'm kind of like mixing a whole bunch of things in there. I'm just uttering what's going on in my mind as I'm thinking about this stuff. But I can't help but think about these things when I see these bizarrely alien, like almost like sentient crystals. What could they be subjectively experiencing? You know, is it possible that they experience things that are magnificent and wonderful beyond our imagination? How do we get connected to that? How do we get plugged into that? You know, is there any point? You know, just man, it's exciting, and I just wish that there was a way for us to be in a position to be able to explore this question, practically speaking, instead of just fantasizing about it in our minds. If we actually had fleets of, you know, warp drive vehicles that could take us anywhere in the universe, quasi instantly, that would definitely be something that I would be doing and organizing my life around. Just the pursuit of knowledge, just trying to discover more and more about ourselves by, you know, traveling outside. So yeah, let me just go back. Sorry about this ramble.
Ample sunlight, beings on worlds like Titan would likely be chemosynthetic, deriving their energy by breaking down rocks.
Look at this.
Such life forms could have ultra-slow metabolisms and life cycles measured in millions of years.
That's hot plants? Oh, I've heard of peroxide.
In high temperatures, typically rigid silicon-oxygen bonds become more flexible and reactive, triggering more dynamic chemistry. This has led to a truly bizarre proposal: silicon-based life forms that live inside molten silicate rock.
Just imagine that. Just the
In
thought
theory,
of that.
these forms could even exist deep beneath the Earth inside magma chambers as part of a shadow biosphere. If so,
Amazing.
then the aliens are right under our noses.
Previous video, they said that all we have to do is look up.
Other shadow
Now here, all we have
biospheres
to
have
do
been
is look
proposed.
down,
Forms
find a
of
way to
life
find
living
out.
alongside us that we don't even know are here, including tiny RNA-based life small enough to go undetected by existing instruments.
Look at that. Melodysheep. These visual effects are making
Clouds
me
of
feel
dust in empty
lightheaded.
space might seem like the last place you'd expect to find anything living.
Wait,
But
what
when
do you
cosmic
suggest?
dust makes contact with plasma, a type of ionized gas, something
Look at
strange
this.
happens.
These visual effects.
In simulated conditions, dust particles have been seen spontaneously self-organizing into helical structures that resemble DNA.
What?
These plasma crystals even begin to exhibit lifelike behavior,
What?
replicating, evolving into more stable forms, and passing on information.
What? Lord, give me strength.
Plasma is the most common state of matter in the universe. If complex evolving plasma crystals really exist, and if they can be considered life, they could be its most common form.
Amazing to think about. What? Life. Something is alive.
When massive suns explode, some collapse into ultra-dense cores called neutron stars. Hulking masses of
Really?
atomic nuclei crammed together like sardines.
In a neutron star. Inside the core of a
Conditions
neutron
on the
star.
surface are mind-boggling. Gravity is 100 billion times stronger than Earth's. But beneath their iron nuclei crust lies something strange. A hot, dense sea of neutrons and subatomic particles.
I love these effects. Look at that.
Stripped of their electron shells, these nuclei would obey entirely different laws of chemistry, based not on the electromagnetic force, but the strong nuclear force which binds nuclei together. In theory, these particles could link up to form larger macronuclei, which could then combine into even bigger supernuclei.
Like, the stuff that's being talked about now is decoupled from my
If
intuition
so,
entirely.
then this bewildering environment would mimic the basic conditions for life. Heavy nucleon molecules floating in a complex particle ocean.
I don't even know whether to be incredulous.
Some
Or
scientists
just
have proposed the
believe
unimaginable.
everything. But
Exotic life forms drifting through this strange particle sea, living, evolving, and dying on incomprehensibly fast timescales.
good. I hadn't thought of that. Look at this. It's like something out of like a. Yeah, I think it's even more exotic. Like robots?
Life is not something that has to evolve naturally. It can be designed.
Cute from Transformers. Goodness.
And once intelligence is introduced into the evolutionary process, a Pandora's box is opened.
It's like automatons.
Freed from typical biological limitations, synthetic and machine-based life could be the most successful of all. It could thrive almost anywhere, including the vacuum of space, opening up vast frontiers unavailable to biological organisms.
Let me pause this video for a second. So, one of the things I think about a lot in terms of alien civilizations out there throughout the universe, if you just forecast the kind of technology that alien civilizations would have if they were able to travel to other planets and do things like that, they would probably have cracked the code of artificial intelligence or some version of it back on their planets or series of planets. And as a result, I think that once that comes into play, the rollout and the deployment of essentially synthetic life in the form of robots and AI, is going to massively outpace the growth of the populations of the biological life. So as time goes by during these periods of time, the ratio of synthetic life to biological life it basically explodes, where the number of synthetic organisms massively outnumber the biological ones. So I think if you have these, I think that once you get into a situation like that, then the civilizations that create such robots and AIs, etc., the biological organisms would essentially be treated as gods, almost. And they would be treated as gods with these robots and these AI suddenly spreading all throughout the universe. So I think that basically these biological organisms would live in either some kind of an alternate reality, if they could, tunnel their way through space-time using wormholes and get lost in multiple different dimensions and just live there like gods because they could do anything they wanted. Or they would live in some kind of even in the future, I just imagine almost like the Matrix, where you live in a virtual reality, where you can essentially do everything. You can fly, you can go underwater, you can teleport anywhere on Earth, and anything that you could ever imagine you could do instantly. And all of the activities outside of this virtual bubble of euphoria that you would be living in would be manned by machines and robots and AIs and things like that you would be interfaced with. So I think that if we were ever to travel around the universe and land on a planet, chances are that we would be more likely to find the remains of the robotic remains of a civilization long gone, or you would be confronted with robot locals. And it's an interesting thought to think about.
And compared to the glacial pace of natural selection, technological evolution allows exponentially faster growth, adaptability, and resilience.
These systems could achieve hundreds of thousands of years of intellectual, moral, and scientific progress.
By some estimates, autonomous self-replicating machines could colonize an entire galaxy in as little as 1 million years.
even if you could not travel faster than the speed of light, they could do it. But then it begs the question, where are they? We'll experience
We can't
that here.
predict how hyper-intelligent life would organize itself.
Firmly paradox.
But in theory, there could be convergent evolution at play. The electrical properties of silicon might make it a universal basis for machine intelligence, a redemption for its biological shortcomings. As the universe ages, perhaps machine intelligence will come to dominate, and naturally occurring biological life will be viewed as a quaint starting point. Perhaps we ourselves will lead this transition, and the great human experiment will be merely a first link in a sprawling intergalactic chain of life.
What a glorious and all the scenery just makes me wish we could have reached it. Yep, very much so. And the detail that went into these, the imagination.
Lauren Isley has said that one does not meet oneself until one catches the reflection from an eye other than human. One day that eye may be that of an intelligent alien. And the sooner we eschew our narrow view of evolution, the sooner we can truly explore our ultimate origins and destinations.
Shivers there. Oh. Good grief. Melodysheep. Taking no prisoners. Oh. hope that in my lifetime I get to gaze upon the scenery of an alien world with my own eyes. What a visceral, like, emotional charge that would be. Good lord. Okay. Okay. Are these videos out yet? So one thing that I would like to say about life is that I have a feeling that in the universe there would be times when we would be face to face with something that was alive that we would not necessarily consider living. And in large part, this boils down to a failure of imagination, as well as a set of inductive biases that we have that is shaped by our experience down here on Earth. Our intuitions are governed by our observations and the model of reality that our brain has created based on these observations. So I think that we do have to do a lot more thinking, and videos like Melodysheep's is over here. The videos like these by Melodysheep really force us to think outside of the box in terms of what life could be, as far-fetched as some of the things could sound, like the life living in a neutron star. The reason why it sounds far-fetched to me is because my intuitions are grounded in this, what I see here on Earth, and we should be careful, because when human explorers or whatever does the exploring sets foot there and discovers life, these are pure assumptions that we're making that are inaccurate, right? This is how galactic wars start happening, because we make these ridiculous assertions when we land here that are guided based on our own experience. And the last thing we want to do when we arrive on an alien planet is to initiate the billions of years worth of future interplanetary relationships with a gaffe like that. Lord give me strength. Melodysheep really knows how to have this innate ability to expand your mind and make you consider things that you really didn't. Like, there's videos I've seen on many different topics where I sort of guessed what they were going to say in the video. But Melodysheep seems to be a few steps ahead, of everyone. And the information that Melodysheep provides in the videos, combined with the way that Melodysheep carefully curates and presents it with beautiful music, beautiful scenery, beautiful visual effects. I think just Melodysheep is I think Melodysheep is a real champion of science and human curiosity, and especially making some kind of a spiritual connection with science. Because when I watch some of these videos, I can't help but feel like the spiritual uplifting. It sort of nurtures my soul and uplifts my spirit, so to speak. It's really powerful, and I think that Melodysheep needs to have the resources placed at his disposal to continue doing this. It's so incredible to watch someone that is very passionate about this, make, reveal to the world the full glory of his work. So I'm so thrilled to watch yet another Melodysheep video, and it definitely won't be my last. On the contrary, I'm going to be relentlessly watching every single video that I get a chance to. But of course, I won't just be doing this by myself. I'll be doing this together with you all. So thank you very much for watching this video with me. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.